of you watching, whether now or later, welcome. In fact, I think maybe I'll just keep the beginning section. So, what Paul just witnessed, and what some people on my chess channel might have witnessed earlier if they caught it in time, was me accidentally streaming on the wrong channel because I was basically sticking to my existing OODA loops or my existing patterns. And it's so funny. And it's like a little parallel to fighting, to martial arts, because,
Yeah.
if you train a certain way and you're tested a certain way or you're used to certain patterns, you're going to react that way, right? And like, I did a YouTuber version of that. That was so funny. So, anyways, Paul Hernandez, welcome.
That, it's nice to meet you, Jerry. This is a big treat for me. I mean, I when I was younger, I used to watch your channel a lot, especially just finding martial artists that took traditional martial arts and made them work in like a modern MMA setting. This is a big treat for me.
Oh, thank you, man. Thank you. Do you remember which video it was that you found my channel through?
Okay, the one that I found your channel through, I can't remember the specific one, but there were a couple. There was like the ones where you would go with the ones where you talk about Don Wilson and stuff like that.
Oh.
That was a big one. I think you also did one on Benny the Jet, I think.
Yes,
Yes.
definitely.
It was also your history on Sanda videos was I personally enjoyed those. And a couple different of your JKD videos. I'm trying to remember the guy's name, but I saw him and he was doing like a wacko tournaments and stuff. I think his last name was Fong or
Okay, yeah. Yeah, so definitely one of those Taiwanese guys, huh?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. I mean, that's kind of refreshing because you actually seem to have found me not from the Shuxiaodong stuff, which is great. That's awesome.
I was about to say I know that my brother had also found you like around the same time and it was from the Zhujiang stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's I try my best to brand my channel and not try to get too many things on the channel, right? Because in the long term, that hurts. If I
Yeah,
do one
yeah.
jujitsu video and never do it again, then like 20 jujitsu people are going to subscribe and never watch my channel, and
Yeah,
then the
exactly.
algorithm's going to punish me for that. So I try my best, but like even among the stuff I do often, there's like almost like different, it's sub branches, and it's like, oh my god, some days I'm like, maybe I need to have like a special channel just for bullshido. Or by the way, that word is trademarked. It's so funny. Like I didn't know
That's
that. So like I don't use that word too much anymore because I didn't realize that word is trademarked. But it's like, so I guess bullshido fake martial arts. Like I need a special word just special channel just for that. Maybe a special channel. It's almost like every art I explore I might need a special channel, but then I'm gonna go crazy in my mind.
yeah, yeah. Oh,
Wow.
that's interesting that the word Bushido is that's interesting that that's copyrighted.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And again, I believe what the trademark means is like I can't like put bullshit on a shirt and sell it, right? But like I
Ah,
use it, like we're talking about it in like a
yeah,
fair
yeah.
use way, it should be fine. So, but
Oh,
like now
nice.
I'm like, whoa, the guy. That's why like there was the website bullshito.net and then there was
Yeah,
bullshito on Reddit, which I love going on bullshito on Reddit. There's like so much funny stuff submitted on there.
yeah.
Yeah. So, let's talk about your journey, man. You are currently in college, right?
Yes,
I
yes.
see. And when did you start training martial arts?
I started training martial arts back in sixth grade in middle school. I would have been around. Sorry, let me do some quick math right now.
Nice.
Yeah. I would have been around like 12 or so.
Hmm.
And before that, my I was raised in a fighting family. I mean, my dad was my dad had an MMA fight. He wrestled all throughout high school. It was something very important to my one of my uncles is actually a he's if I'm correct, a jiu-jitsu black belt, and he practices
Wow.
Kali and Filipino martial arts. My great uncle was a Golden Gloves boxer, so fighting is just something that it was just put into me as a kid. And in middle school, I got into Taekwondo, and that was something, like it definitely that was something to help my mental health at the time and stuff, just like I was talking to you about. But
Hmm.
yeah, I found Taekwondo, and I really fell in love with the art. I ended up competing in 2019, I believe, at the national stage, like the WTF AAU stuff. And yeah, no, I won gold in my division, so that was just
Wow.
something really nice.
Wow.
Yeah,
Are
and then
we
after,
able to find any footage of that online?
I don't believe you can find any
Oh,
footage. The most I've been able to find is like PDFs, like announcing like, oh, this is everybody who competed in the bracket, and this is that. But I can definitely end up sending you some.
yeah, sure. While you were talking, I'm like, what if we can? Oh, I found a Junior Olympics one of you.
Oh, let me see.
Yeah. 2013. Where you?
Oh no, no, I'm
Oh,
that,
that's someone else. That's another Paul Hernandez.
yeah, yeah, no, I'm definitely too young. Yeah, no,
Ah,
I'll have to email you
yeah.
some stuff. I don't know if you can like edit it into the video, like post and
Yeah, and if not, I can do another compilation or I can put it on my other channel or something like that.
yeah, yeah.
So,
Um, yeah, no, and then after that, my dad, he had married my stepmom, and she had a son that was he was very into fighting. He trained jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai, and we used to spar, and I used to get my ass whooped. I used to get my ass whooped. So for me, I was very just like, I want to learn how to fight actually, because what I'm doing now, it's I can use these things, but I can't transfer it over yet into actual fighting. And that's where I ended up finding Muay Thai, and I trained that
mm,
really as just a base martial art. I found back in my home of Spring Hill, it's like an hour north of Tampa. I found a gym called Primal Striking and BJJ, and the coaches there were just such knowledgeable people and such amazing people at that. I ended up fighting under the gym 3 times.
wow.
Um, yeah, yeah. And now I'm currently at Co Muay Thai, uh, training Muay Thai. I've had one fight under them down over in Key West, and yeah,
Mhm.
that's been it so far.
Wow. And it's so interesting. So, when you started Taekwondo, you mentioned that it really helped your mental health. Were you like struggling with just regular teenager issues or was it other stuff?
It was other stuff. It was definitely other
Oh,
stuff.
hmm,
My you know, as I said, you know, like I have step parents and stuff, so you know, like my parents divorced. That was of course a big thing.
yeah.
But more than that, you know, martial arts, like it really helped me. It really just helped me. I'd say get stronger as a person.
Yeah.
My grandfather, he was a big inspiration to me during my life. And the man, he went through a lot. He was a kid that grew up in World War II Germany, uh,
Wow.
very war torn country, and you know, he used to tell me about it. And I mean, I came to this country, you know, and as a hard worker too. He was a bricklayer, and he came, you know, just looking for a better life, and he was around me constantly, and he instilled, you know, a lot of values and a lot of stuff. But he sadly suffered from Alzheimer's, and it was just it was hard to watch that. It definitely
Yeah.
was. But you know, finding fighting and stuff like that, it it gave me that strength definitely to be able to, you know, stand, you know, proud and stand tall, you know, and
Yeah.
it gave me the strength to, you know, not let those issues, you know, overcome me and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. So, what was a regular Taekwondo session or a regular Taekwondo class like back in the day?
Geez, back in the day, I was lucky to train under I trained under an instructor named Brian Schneider, and he was definitely more from the power era of Taekwondo, that
I
old
see.
school. Mainly, so from the competition practices, we would, geez, it would start off run a couple miles, then we'd go into our sprint work, like 2010 like style work. We'd come back in and we would practice forms just as for a long ass time, and then we would get in our sparring rounds. We would get in conditioning. It was just don't get me wrong, it was, you know, like there wasn't much to it, but I mean, geez, just the way that he trained, you know, was intense, you know,
Yeah.
and he really promoted that style of taekwondo, just effective and fast and sharp. And I, if anything, that has given me a great base for my kicks coming into Muay Thai and kickboxing.
Yeah, it's funny hearing you talk about the cardio part, right? Because when I first started Kung Fu, I was in Chicago, but then I went back to China for 2 years, and it was the same thing. In China, when I trained Kung Fu, there was so much emphasis on the cardio. Like
I mean,
you're talking about miles running, miles like a lot of times in China because the kung fu classes weren't for profit. So like the professors weren't trying to get you out of the class in an hour, right? So like sometimes we'd spend an hour doing cardio. You
I
know,
mean that,
they'd try to make it fun, right? So like, oh,
yeah,
run the stairs 20 times or run these stairs and like mess with people or something like. But like
yeah.
through that, we got so warmed up and we got our cardio. So it sounded like there was a lot of emphasis on cardio when which is like not something you hear as much about nowadays in any kind of gym. It's like, oh, go run some miles. No, like they don't make you do that
Yeah, yeah.
anymore.
He I mean he put that emphasis on it, and I mean that was always a big thing when I was competing in Taekwondo is I always had the better cardio than the people I was competing against. So I was able to just put pressure upon pressure. Like I wouldn't stop, and especially being as small as I was a squirrely little guy. But I mean no, cardio is, and I don't mean cardio just saying like, oh, you can go run 3 miles and there. I mean, I think definitely, especially at the amateur level, people aren't training their cardio intelligently enough. I mean, I could say that as an exercise science student, like, um, and I mean, I've seen it so many times. One thing like, one thing want to talk about is just that all out burst that you see end fights and stuff like that. I've seen guys rock people and then they go give that burst, but they never trained it. They never trained it.
Mm,
They trained those 2010s, but the thing is, they don't train to have that recovery for that just max amount of effort that you can give, and then they gas themselves out in the fight.
yeah.
Yeah, I've seen it. I've fallen victim to it, and I think
Wow.
just uh just training smartly, just being able to train smart and effectively is it's so important, and that's going to make the fight a lot easier. Always
Yeah.
make the training harder than the fight.
Yeah, I mean, that is very good advice. And so, you know, when you transitioned from Taekwondo into Muay Thai, we mentioned earlier that, you felt like it helped your kicks. Were there any initial difficulties too?
Um, of course I found the leg kick difficulty. That was something that
Oh,
just out of that sideways stance.
yeah.
Um, that came from that definitely came from kind of switching my stance from that super bladed style to almost more of a boxing style or like even a kickboxing stance, and I kind of switch in between them. But that was a big issue was the leg kicks. But then I looked at guys like Stephen Wonderboy Thompson and again how they defended the leg kicks. Um, that was a big part of it. But in terms of the kicks, I found a lot of benefit actually because most Muay Thai practitioners really they only teep and roundhouse, and I I learned definitely I picked up a lot of stuff from a lot of YouTube channels, but Shane Faison from Fight Tips, he was a big one, and he always talked about almost like you want to be able to box with your arms, you want legs that are able to do so much because it's just going to hinder your performance if all you can do is just teep and roundhouse.
Yeah, exactly. Um, and so when once you started training Muay Thai, were you able to spar your stepbrother and able to beat him?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was definitely we haven't. He ended up just out of work and stuff. He ended up focusing a lot more on jujitsu just because of the time.
Okay.
But I mean, yeah, like I remember back then being like, wow, he's so cool. He's a fighter. Like, but he was just training it as a hobby. And I mean, now looking back at it, it's like, damn, we looked like two idiots in a backyard just swinging at each other.
I see. I see. Well, I mean,
Yeah,
that's awesome. He went into like he stuck to jujitsu, right? So between the two of you, you
yeah,
guys are
yeah, yeah.
like, yeah. Wow. So tell me about, okay, so obviously you competed in Taekwondo and stuff. Was that ever nerve-wracking or did you feel very prepared? Because we talked about how, you felt like the training was even harder than the competition, right? So
Yeah, yeah.
did it feel like that in Taekwondo competitions?
Um, it's weird. Like I can't say that it really did. In Taekwondo competitions, like of course, like I had nerves and stuff like that, but I don't know. I think I was too young to even grasp like like my little 12-year-old brain, wasn't like actually grasping the context of like you're competing like at one of like the largest stages here in America for Taekwondo. Like um yeah, no, I that's the best way I could put it. I definitely find like the nerves now more and stuff
Hmm.
with Muay Thai. But I mean, geez, my Sabanim, as we call them in Taekwondo, he prepared me very well. He really did. And I mean, we had guys that had already been to nationals, had won state championships at the gym, and hell, they put it on me harder than the people I fought did. And I just, I gotta be thankful for those people.
Yeah, exactly. And so now we go to your first Muay Thai competition. How did that feel? What was the prep like for that?
The prep was geez, it was a very interesting camp at that. I it was just it was normal. It was normal. We had good strength and conditioning. Like my cardio felt really good. Um, the thing that sucked was I got dumped a week before my first fight, so that was yeah,
Oh.
that sucked. But it's whatever.
Were you able to channel that into some like anger in the ring or
No,
anything like?
no,
No.
no,
Okay.
no, no.
I see.
Yeah, no. I went out. I performed. I fought. I don't know if you know him, but I fought one of Asa Tempao's guys.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, yeah. And I come out first round, I won, and then the second round, second and third, I wasn't active enough. And that like that's something that like taught me a lesson of just like just leave it all out there. Like just leave it all out there. Because I was defending, I wasn't getting rocked, I wasn't getting beat. I just wasn't really active, and like that. That's something that I learned. Sometimes you just have to bite down on that mouthpiece and just throw.
Yeah. And this is a great little point too, because I know of other people who had like similar first fight experiences. They're like, I mean, if this were a real fight, I didn't get hurt. But like that's the difference sometimes between a ring versus like
Yeah,
on the street, right? Like they're like,
yeah,
yeah, but like he barely touched me. But it's like, yeah, but like this is a ring fight. You're supposed to hurt them a little, right? So like
yeah.
it's
No,
so
I
interesting.
mean,
You experienced some of the same thing.
yeah. No, I mean, that's just a fact. Well, my dad, he was a Marine veteran, so definitely self-defense was a big idea for him. And he grew up in California in very bad areas, so self-defense was his main objective. And just thinking of it as you're not really you're trying to get out of that situation as fast as you can. And I think people don't really understand that is that versus from fighting in a ring to being on the street, you're trying to get it out of there as fast as you can. You're not trying to stay in there for 6 minutes doing your best work. No, in a ring fight, you have to be willing to get hurt and take a little damage. You really need to,
Yeah.
especially at that skill level. Like you're taking two similarly skilled people. Like you have to be willing, and you're going to get hit, and you have to accept it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So, okay, yeah, it's your first fight, and then you realize, okay, there's certain things about the ring mentality I had to build. And then, how long after the first fight did you do your second fight?
Second fight came in April. It was a rematch against the same guy.
Oh,
It got closer, but a big glaring problem was my boxing. And this is just such a big thing. I'm a big proponent of if you can't box, and I don't mean you have to be a great boxer, but if you don't have basic boxing skills, and I think that's where a lot of traditional martial artists fail, especially Muay Thai guys, and even Sanda guys too, is if you don't have a solid boxing base, um, it's going to be very easy to exploit the rest of your striking. It really is.
yeah,
I mean, if you want to take Muay Thai for example, look at what the Dutch kickboxers did. It's just a fact. You need to have a solid basis of boxing. And luckily, Muay Thai has evolved now with things like one championship where we see guys that have competent boxing. But third fight, Third fight is where everything fell together, and it's very interesting the mentality that I had for that fight because I was training my entire camp and I had opponents fall through like two or three times.
Um,
I didn't have an opponent in mind. I was just training. 3 days before the fight, I get given my opponent, and he's from the promoter's gym. So my mentality for that fight was win or lose.
yeah, yeah,
I don't care about that outcome because
yeah,
I know where I'm coming from. I'm
yeah.
coming from, I'm not the hometown fighter. I'm
Yep,
not,
yep.
yeah. Um, I just went out, and that was also another thing that I wanted to talk about is something that has especially helped me in fighting is I went into that fight, just thinking this is fun. This is what I do, this is my art. And that's just how I approached it. I mean, my father, like I said, he was a Marine, he was a combat veteran, and something that he always told me is, fighting is fun.
Yeah.
We don't have to do this to survive. We don't have to do this to protect ourselves most of the time. Like this is fun and we should be having that. And something I see like a lot of guys saying, a lot of fighters is, "Oh, we're going to war, we're going to war." But yeah, no, my dad never pushed that on me. War and fighting, they're very two different things. They really are.
Yeah,
Um,
I think I 100% agree with you. And I think about the people that I always love watching, like Genki Sudo. Genki Sudo just always had fun. You could tell that dude, even
yeah,
Sakuraba. Sakuraba had so much fun in the ring, right? When he was destroying the Gracies, he was having
yeah,
fun. Like he was like inventing moves and stuff. Like
yeah,
I love what you said, and it makes sense that you had parents and growing up in rougher circumstances. You know the difference between even MMA or Muay Thai fight versus a real life situation, right? Some
yeah,
people, especially the people that let's say grew up in not as bad circumstances, they don't get that and like they take it too serious. I mean, you opened up a really good can of worms, which is what I always tell people. I mean, I think I conduct my channel like that. Don't take this stuff too seriously.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
like we're living in a peaceful society that you and I can discuss this stuff. Like that already shows like don't take this stuff too seriously. And like
yeah. No,
what you
no.
just showed is like even if you're in the ring, don't take it too seriously. Like you get knocked out, you're going to the hospital. It's not like back in the day you get knocked out, you might die, right? You got to think
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
exactly. But I mean, and but that also opens up another thing is, people think just because I have fun, that I don't take it seriously. But I'm definitely a competitive guy. It is a sport, it is a
Yeah.
fight. I realize that. But the mentality that really helps me, is it's that self-expression. Martial arts
Yeah.
is about a self-expression, and for me, it's a thing of that's that's I feel as though if I care, and then this goes back to I'm a big Bruce Lee fan, so I gotta adjust, I gotta address that elephant in the room. But it's learning the art of dying. I try not to care about things like losing because I feel like if I care about losing or if I'm so hell bent on winning that it just hinders the flow of the best of me.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and I think that just goes for any artist. If you're trying to create a masterpiece and you're so hell bent on it, you're probably not going to. You just got to let those things flow out.
Yeah,
But
so true, man. And
yeah, but
even just applying me as a YouTuber, like some of my best videos were still from the very early days when I didn't care, right?
yeah, yeah,
YouTube obviously made me care, so I couldn't. It's not just me. It's like I have to work with a platform, but still,
yeah,
some of my oldest videos
yeah,
were my best because I didn't care. I had a day job back then, so just like expression, right? Again, I have to emphasize what Paul says. It doesn't mean don't take it seriously. It doesn't mean okay, it's just a joke, but it means there's a certain middle ground, right? You can't like,
yeah,
oh, I base everything on a one outcome, but you also have to take it seriously enough to get good at it, right? So I love
yeah,
what Paul emphasized there, and I think in general that's a good process in life with learning any skill. Like obviously you
yeah,
got to work hard at it, but like at the end of the day, just remember your brain is very, very talented. So like don't think this is just one thing you can do. Like there's many things you
yeah,
can get good at. So like don't take one outcome too seriously or even one set of outcomes too seriously.
yeah. And for me, it's a big thing of just yeah, liberate yourself from that outcome. It's a big thing of I take it from like Musashi Miyamoto, like fight like you're already dead.
Hmm.
Like if I'm liberated from these ideas of winning or losing, it's just me in that ring. It's just
Yeah.
me in that ring.
Yeah.
It's just me and the other guy. And I mean, yeah, no. And like you said, like thank you for clarifying. I don't want people thinking like, oh, he takes this as a joke, but no, it's my art. I take this seriously, and it is all, and the mentality that I always have going in that ring is this, just put it all out there, be better than the last time, and just let it all come out because um I may not know what my opponent is going to bring
Hmm.
anytime I stand in that ring, but I know what I'm going to bring. I know what I'm going to bring. One of my friends, he trains with me at my Muay Thai gym, and he was talking to a crew F over at Sitjofo in Thailand, and he talked about how do you prepare for fighters and stuff. How did you guys prepare for fighters back in like the that golden age of Muay Thai? And crew F he just said we didn't prepare for fighters. We just you know work on your style, work on making your game. They have to play your game. You don't have to play their game. Don't I think that's a very important lesson, especially for fighting and for martial arts. I feel like a lot of guys are so concerned on changing up their game and the best way to attack their opponent or make a game plan that they don't spend time they don't spend time setting their style, and
Yeah.
it doesn't make it as effective as it can be. I
Yeah.
mean, the Thais, they were fighting every weekend, like it's just a way of life for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's such a good point for anyone watching that is whether beginning in the middle or in their prime, like you got to remember that it is an expression. So, obviously there's effective ways to fight and less effective ways to fight, but there's also effective ways that you can learn better, effective ways that you can
Yeah,
fight better. And you have to find that in yourself. Like this is an issue that I even see it in like people who coach me. Like I had a coach who one time he went into the ring after many years and he had the wrong coach coaching him. And so like
yeah,
he's not a guy that fights like a traditional Muay Thai guy, but the guy was trying to make him fight like a traditional Muay Thai guy. So the guy, so my coach was getting destroyed. And
yeah,
like because my coach, he learned so many arts, so he's the type who can incorporate a lot of different arts into a Muay
yeah,
Thai match. But like his coach was making him not do that. So like that was like I think about that example, and I had a similar example. One guy was like trying to get me to like try to be more Muay Thai, and like I was getting destroyed one time in sparring, and I was like, "F that guy, man! I'm never sparring that guy again." Like, no, I'm being extreme there, but like he
yeah, yeah,
misled me, like. I had all this good head movement from boxing. He was telling me, "Oh, but you're gonna get kicked. You gotta like," and I'm like, I was getting destroyed even more. It's like you have to like find that middle ground of effective, but also like genuine to you, but not losing that effectiveness. Like you can
yeah,
be genuine to you without losing that effectiveness, and it might piss other people off sparring you, but that's you. Like keep
yeah.
it, if it's working.
I'm no, and that's something that I'm a big proponent of, and I found that works the best for me. You know, there are multiple roads to the same destination.
Yeah,
Take a push kick, for example. If I say a push kick, it could be a teep, it could be a front kick, it could be a side kick, it could be a spinning side kick.
yeah,
There's once again, it's a big Bruce Lee thing. Like when you first start out, the punches are just punches and the kicks are just kicks. When you're at that middle ground, there's so much more. But when you're at that final level, punches are just punches and kicks are just kicks.
yeah,
Also,
yeah.
all different solutions to the same problem.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I'll give a little chess analogy too. Like, I can watch 10 people explain the same four steps in the opening, and they'll
Yeah,
explain it differently. Doesn't mean
yeah,
one person's explanation is necessarily wrong or the way one person thinks of it is wrong, but they're all personalizing it for themselves. And like same moves in chess. Now applied to the body. Everyone's body's different. Everyone moves different. So
yeah,
it's like
exactly.
I love that little progression you gave that Bruce Lee talked about.
Yeah, yeah.
So let's talk about all right. So you had a few Muay Thai fights. Was there a time when you felt like, okay, all right, I want this fight game to be a big part of me. Or was that like from the beginning?
Geez, I my mother was an artist, and she definitely she definitely she definitely gave that sense of being an artist to me. I mean, and I've done a lot of different stuff. I've done just like painting, drawing, and stuff as art. I play guitar, but for me, just fighting, it just felt so. It felt like as an artist, the self expression that I was looking for, that was it. That was. I mean, and it's so true. You can't tell a lie in the ring. You can't. Everything is going to show from your mentality to your training to yourself. Don't get me wrong. You can feint and fake. Those are lies, but um, that's just something about that's just something that I love about fighting
Yeah.
is you see a lot about a person, and I mean I fought guys that I've never spoke to them a day in my life, but just those 6 minutes in the ring, I mean you feel like you know the guy for like 10 years.
Yep.
You learn a
Yep.
lot about fighting. You learn a lot about somebody just based on how they fight. It shows a lot about them. It shows their grit, their perseverance.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. There's a Chinese expression exactly about that. Like you don't know someone until you fight them. It's like
Yeah,
it's an old Chinese expression. So sometimes it happened to me once in America in fifth grade. I got into a big fight with a person. We hate each other, but after we fought, we became friends.
yeah. I mean,
And then certain people after you fight, and then you see how they treated afterwards, and you're like, oh, that's why that guy's not my friend, right? So you
yeah,
can
yeah,
not just tell who becomes your friend, but who also will never be your friend based on if they hold grudges, if they act like little wimps or whatever after the
yeah,
fight.
yeah.
It can't be
Oh
a
yeah,
bigger
no,
person.
I've had experiences with that, and like that's a big thing for me too. Is it's like it's I found that fight fans, they're some of the worst fans out there. People in the crowd, oh my gosh. I've had fights where me and the guy look like, we just want to go lay down for like 3 days straight. And the entire crowd, they're just screaming, just calling us
Oh,
stuff. Oh man.
yeah, yeah, and this is something I noticed, and it might be different because I've probably only watched maybe 5 to 6 Muay Thai events live.
Mhm.
So I haven't watched too many Muay Thai events live, but I know like when I go to bars to watch UFC events, 90% of those people watching with me don't train at all. It's the weirdest thing. So I
Oh
don't
yeah,
know if
no.
it's the same in Muay Thai events. It might be a little different because Muay Thai usually like the fighters bring a lot of their friends, their fellow teammates,
Yeah.
etc. But like I was so surprised every time I'm in a bar and I'm watching UFC, nobody knows what's going on, and like they're like following me as I'm commentating. I'm like, well, I'm glad
Yeah.
you trust what I say, but like I felt, why would you watch this? But like I guess that's the thing about violence, right? Like even
Yeah.
though people can't understand, people who don't train, they don't understand it technically. They can still understand. Oh, I can understand this. I can understand this. You
Yeah, yeah.
know?
Um, and I mean, it just here in America, definitely, Muay Thai events they're definitely more like that. And a lot of the times it's like family friends, it's people that don't train.
Mm,
Rarely ever have I seen corners or I've seen entire teams be disrespectful, but
wow.
that really that depends on your gym. That depends on your gym. I've seen gyms be really respectful, and we're lucky that there's a lot here in Florida, but I've also seen a lot of them just be absolute assholes. Like I have. Um, but I think that goes down to people and violence. To name drop another YouTuber, Ramsey Dewey. I think he put it best. People like violence that they can turn off. Like that's just a fact. That's something that I've learned too. Is that like I'm not a violent guy. I'm not an angry guy. But here I am, doing these fights. It's not as easy as people think it is. It really isn't. And if you haven't experienced it yourself, you're not going to come to these conclusions. Because most of the time, the people that you fight, they're going to be respectful. They're going to be good people.
Yeah.
and it's just a competition. But I feel like the fans themselves, they don't understand that. They haven't been in that line of fire, that heat, to know exactly what it takes.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's such a good point. It's unfortunately, if you don't get punched in the face, you don't know what it's like, right? And
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like, yeah. I mean, even some days, because I've had injuries and stuff, so I haven't sparred in a while. Some days I have to remind myself, hey, that guy accidentally like or purposely bumped you. It's okay. Like don't like get into a situation. Don't you
yeah,
remember
yeah,
back in the day what it felt like to get hit? Like I have to remind myself, and it's like I used to spar. I haven't sparred in like a year, but like
yeah,
just having that year off, like you get back into that mentality of you forget a lot of these things,
yeah,
and
yeah.
like if these fans, all they're doing is because from a brain perspective, right? Like when you're watching people fight, part of your mirror neurons are getting turned on. So like there's a part of your brain that thinks you're in the fight, right? So like you get
Yeah,
into
yeah,
it. But that sometimes gets mistaken as let's say you watch these fights every week, but you don't actually train or know anything. Like your brain might convince itself that it knows a little bit, but it doesn't,
yeah, yeah.
right?
No,
So,
it really doesn't, and that's always shocking to see. That is always
yeah.
shocking to see.
So that comes with that like mentality. Sometimes like especially if they're really into it, but they don't train and they'll never train, their brain deep down in her might think they can fight. That's the worst. And maybe that's
Yeah,
where
yeah,
some of it's just they're just they want entertainment. They just don't understand. Be
yeah.
quiet, right? And it's a
That's why
cultural thing.
it
Yeah.
really is, and that I'm a big proponent of training martial arts and like
Yeah.
learning to fight.
Yeah.
I mean, like there was a statistic that I saw that like 6% of Americans think that they could beat a grizzly bear in a fight unarmed.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
And like when you do the math, like that's 300 million Americans. Like 6% of 300 million is a lot of people. That
Yeah.
is a lot of
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
And I say like one, do you want to be one of those people, or B, if you're out on the street and you need somebody to protect you, do you want one of those people protecting you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny because I'm sure Thailand's probably because they have such a big culture there. I know in Japan, for example, like the audience is usually very respectful, right? So
Yeah.
so there's like that cultural thing too. Like Americans are just sometimes a little bit more rowdy.
Oh
So
yeah. Oh yeah. We have a crew at my gym. His name is full name is Petchman Korn, not but he recently just came from Thailand, and it's just such an experience. I mean, and you can definitely tell. I mean, he was telling us, like after every spar, just even greeting people, just bow, just be respectful. These are your training partners. This is a sport, and it's a culture that it demands a lot of respect, and you should be willing to give that. Because I mean, hell, to even make these shows happen, fighters are giving a lot, especially at the
yeah,
amateur level.
yeah,
For you to better yourself as a martial artist, your opponent in front of you is giving a lot, you're giving a lot, and I mean, that's just a fact. I think respect is a big part of it.
yeah, exactly. And I think this is a perfect segue to talk about Hurricane X. What made you decide to do Hurricane Santana's event? And before we do that, are you doing the Sanda match? Or are you doing the kickboxing match?
I'm I'm doing I'm doing full rules Muay Thai.
Okay, I see.
Originally I was we were trying to do open Sanda rules, which he's putting on, which is
Mhm.
he's doing Sanda with elbows, which I think that's just a very that it's innovative, it's new, and I think it's just something good. But Xavier he reached out to my coach, who was he was one of the few places here on this part of Florida that trains Sanda and teaches Sanda and coaches it. Um, and he came out, and it was just it was building that connection. So when Fighters Rep fell through, and Hurricane Santana, when he started making his own promotion, he called out to us, and I mean, I hopped on. I'm always down to fight. And it gives me, it gives me a sense of comfort knowing that he has experience in the fight game as a fighter himself, and on the business side of it. Because that's just a fact. That if you go to these little smaller promotions, a lot of the time they're going to screw you over, or they're not. handled the best. But I get that sense of comfort, that he's got our backs, as fighters, and he just wants to put on a good show.
Hmm.
But definitely in the future, as of right now, I'm doing Muay Thai rules with my opponent. But in the future, that's something that I want to try my hand at is that open full rules contact Sanda, because I feel like just that rule set, it's perfect for everything I've done. With the Sanda experience that my coaches put me through, the Taekwondo, the boxing, the Muay Thai, those are all aspects of things that I'll get to do. Yeah.
Yeah. So what is your day-to-day training like? Like how much Muay Thai do you do? How much Sana do you do? How much boxing do you do?
Okay, so as of right now, my boxing and kicks are it's stuff that I'll focus on. We do our own our own boxing day at my Muay Thai gym. We do boxing sparring, but as far as um as far as training goes, when it comes to my boxing and kicks, that's stuff that I tend to focus on more personally, getting down technique, or if I have a partner to drill with. I try to work that in like 3 days a week or so. I try to train these different um I try to train in these different styles as much as I can, as to keep all those different parts of myself, prime and ready. But
Hmm.
throughout the week, um, this is how my schedule normally looks. Monday is it's a technique day, so it's going to be a regular Muay Thai class. We run about 2 to 3 miles. We'll do some sprints, get back in, do some rounds of shadow boxing. We'll go into pad work, and that's that's 3 rounds holding for another person, 3 rounds holding for one person. And then that could go into clinch or more technique work right there. And that's gonna be into strength conditioning. That's a very basic day. Tuesday is a big focus on clinch, which personally I feel is very important in every aspect of fighting. And I don't see it talked about enough. And especially in MMA. Everybody always thinks about oh, if you're that close, you're just going to the ground. But I've seen guys, be able to stop takedowns in that range, and then what happens when you're stuck in that clinch? That's knees and elbows. It's really uncharted territory in MMA. Wednesday, like I said, is the boxing day, but throughout that week, just before these practices or stuff, I'll get to the gym early and I'll work with my teammates. Really, like with the old Taekwondo paddles and stuff, just keeping all those different aspects and stuff. I do a lot of shadow boxing, a lot of visualization. And I break stuff down really slow a lot of the times, because I feel like, if I'm always used to that fast paced, environment of sparring or being in the fight, you can't really make these things work. That's also a big thing is light sparring. Light sparring is so important. Don't get me wrong, hard sparring is too, and I'm never one to shy away from hard sparring, but for developing the tools that you can use best, light sparring is going to be good for setting up game plans, for getting used and being desensitized to that. So when you do go into hard sparring, you can still be creative, you can still flow, and you don't have to worry about, going into fight or flight, defense mode. And then yeah, Wednesday I get my boxing rounds in for sparring. And then it's road work, sprint, strength conditioning all throughout the week. Thursday I do a Thai style camp with our new trainer from Thailand.
Hmm.
It's just 2 hours. It'll be just a bunch of jump roping, or like I said, running. He's gonna have us do the pad rounds. He's gonna have us do the shadow boxing. You'll be with a partner. Your partner, you'll be holding that bag, and you'll just be working many techniques. Fridays, that's my sparring day, and then Saturday and Sunday, it'll be Sundays are open sparring days, so a lot of different guys from a lot of different gyms come. That gives a good amount of stuff. And Saturdays, I will go to a gym called MJM over in Clearwater. They have a really good amount of people. Multiple Muay Thai fighters. They have a guy that fought on RWS, if I'm pretty sure.
Hmm.
They got some BKFC fighters that go there, and Julian Lane also trains there for his BKFC fights. Yeah, but really, it's just like a lot of running, a lot of running. Uh, and it's yeah, that's pretty much the basic training. There's not really anything I'm doing to innovate my training, I'd say, besides the technique. I focus on a lot of different aspects, and I work a lot on pinpointing stuff that I'm not good at, and
Mm,
and doing that in sparring or working on it in sparring. Recently, I've been working on my head movement a lot. That's just stuff, uh, I'm a big proponent of that. Sparring is not your time to, just basically fight each other. Pick a thing, work on it, and be able to look at yourself and be, this is what I need to work on. This is what I'm doing good. This is what I need to keep doing. Yeah, that's pretty much the basic rundown of everything. Here at USF, the college that I go to, I work a lot with the boxing club sometimes, and we're also trying to get an MMA club started over here.
wow.
And the nice
Dude,
thing
your
about the MMA,
schedule packed, man. I
yeah,
love
it,
it.
it, it is, it is. Yeah, and I feel like, that definitely, in terms of work ethic, it gives me an edge over a lot of people.
Yeah.
Um, a lot of people that fight, especially at the amateur level. I've noticed, and it's weird because you wouldn't suspect so, but really a lot. I've seen like a lot of people that, like, all they do is fight, But that's the thing is, there have been times where I'm working a job. I was in high school and I was still fighting and training for fights, and that's not like, you go 2 days a week. That's your entire week right there. You go every day a week. You're training, and I think that's an edge that I have over a lot of guys. Is just mentally. I work hard. I put in that work effort. And yeah, and it translates over to the fights. It really does.
Yeah. Let's talk about what you're studying because it's related to the fight game too.
It is. It is. Really, I'm looking to be a physical therapist. Athletic training, though, is something I'm also greatly interested in. Of course, I'm going to mainly just be a general practice, but I do want to focus on fighters, and I do want to
Hmm.
focus on combat sports because I feel like you're taking one of the hardest sports in the world, and a lot of the times the physical therapy or the athletic training, it's just modeled after other sports like football and stuff. It's
Yeah.
not it's not done intelligently, and I
Yeah.
feel like there's still a lot of growth because I mean the UFC, like, it's always been popular, but I feel like in the past recent years, like, it's been a massive growth
Yeah.
with combat sports, and I feel like it's uncharted territory.
Yeah.
I want to be able to how do we get this fighter to perform the best? How do we do that? What are the best tactics and game plans that we can implement in their training to see how they're good? And when it comes to rehabilitation, most of the time when we think about physical therapists and rehab, and especially sports medicine, it's, how do we get this person to play this sport, or how do we get this person just basic functioning? It's not fighting, and it's not fighting at the highest level. And
Yeah.
I'm very interested in how do you rehabilitate a person back to that point.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah,
love
yeah.
it, man. That's yeah. Well, anything interesting you've learned so
Oh,
far?
as of right now, a lot of my study, just because I'm starting out, it's been just general anatomy and stuff. So, nothing really sports specific, but I think it goes back to that, like how we was talking about that all out burst. I don't know if you have any experience in, like, sports training and stuff like that, but a big so that is called that. What I was talking about was the phosphagen energy system, and that really only lasts for 5 to 10 seconds, and it takes about 2 minutes to get back. In terms of full recovery. And the thing is, we're used to training those 2010 interval sprints, and we're used to training for those long endurance runs, but not a lot of people train that all out for 10 seconds and then doing it again, because the fact is that's your gas tank right there. That depletes your gas tank. It really does. And if you're not training that, and that was something that I learned just from anatomy and from viewing it at that more scientific level. And I think people really neglect that. They neglect to, like, they neglect to look at the body on a scientific level because hard training is the best training. When in reality, and I mean, especially with my packed schedule, I have to train smart. I have to get the most out of what I'm doing, you know, and I need to keep my body running the best it can.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Dude, I love it. I love it. Let me Let me put a link to this to anyone that wants to learn about this. I love this. Dude, this is what I want, whether fighters or anyone watching, like I want us to think about things and evolve our thinking, right? Like you think about how so much of this like traditional martial arts versus modern
Yeah,
stuff debate is just like some of that tradition's wrong. I'm sorry. It's like, but like
it is.
you
It
see
is.
it even nowadays in like contemporary MMA and Muay Thai even people get stuck in paradigms too, So like
Yeah,
we have to constantly be evolving our thinking based on the latest science, the latest
of
findings.
course, of course. And it's not even that. And now that you bring that up, just as much as we look to the future, we need to look to the past. Everybody is always, they're one to say, "Oh, history repeats itself. The past repeats itself." An example that I use is like the karate kickboxing with guys like Benny the Jet, Bill Superfoot Wallace, and stuff like that. Um, when I say like, and I'll say this especially for myself, when operating out of a side stance, and operating out of that bladed stance, using those side kicks, hook kicks, coming from that more karate taekwondo background, everybody is so quick to say Muay Thai is the best base, kickboxing is the best base. Those aren't actual fighting. We had a good period of like 30 years of information here in America with that. Benny the Jet Urquitas, he was smoking the ties. He was smoking the Japanese kickboxers, doing what he did. And I feel like people, they go on this thing of, history repeats itself. You have to learn from the past, but then they're so easy to forget about the past.
Yeah, yeah,
That's just the thing is we have to constantly be evolving because in this game, stagnation means death. If you stay stagnant, if you're not constantly a student, you're gonna get knocked out. You're gonna get choked out. You're gonna lose.
yeah,
And you're gonna I'm not gonna, metaphorically, you're gonna die with time.
yeah,
Like it's just that.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And they're back in the day, especially when society wasn't as safe. You could have like horse nomads raiding your
Yeah,
territories, right?
yeah.
Like people got to test this stuff out. So like, don't dismiss everything from back in the day. Obviously modern science and stuff, we will disprove some stuff, but like there are
Yeah.
you have to look at who made the claim, right? Okay, if it was some general who was fighting off the Mongols, okay, like maybe trust some of his stuff. Don't
Yeah,
dismiss
yeah.
that stuff, even if it's like 400 years old.
Oh yeah, yeah. And I mean the truth is there are just some facts that still ring true. You could look at something like Sun Tzu Art of War. I'm a big Musashi Miyamoto fan, but still, even to today, things that he said, things that he's wrote about, they still stand true till today. I mean, they're universal things, and yeah, I definitely feel like we can't forget those. And we have to continue that growth. We have to continue learning, and we have to be able to learn. We can't say, "Oh, I know everything." We have to be continue, and like I said, and that's why I'm a big proponent. And like in my sparring, I'll always look for things that I can do better, and I will force myself to step out of that comfort habit, to step out of that comfort zone and break those bad habits, and do that stuff. It's important, and I feel like people don't want to do that because they're so worried about being good. They're so worried about winning. They're so worried about not losing. Is that they're not willing to work on their mistakes. They're willing to only do what they're good at because they don't because it's easy to say that you're good. It's easy to be good at the things that you're good at. It's hard to get good at the stuff you're not good at.
Yeah, yeah, so true, so true. So, are you currently in the training camp right now to train for Hurricane X, or is that going
Yes.
to be late? Oh, so you're already getting started now.
Yes,
Wow.
yes. Um I've known that I was going to compete in this event, so I've had it in mind even though I only got my opponent like say maybe like a week or so ago.
Hmm.
Um I've been training with this in mind. Yes.
Wow. That's
And I
that's aw- that's really inspiring, man. Wow, that's really inspiring.
I mean yeah, and that's the thing, is like you bring it back to that point of inspiring. That's part of the reason why I do this, and kind of going back to that mental health thing. And there was stuff that was it wasn't just my grandfather. There have definitely been points. And I want to, and I hope it doesn't sound like egotistical at all, but I've always been the smaller guy in my fights. I really have. Um, I, you know, I just want to, I want people to be able to look at me and be like, I can do that too, I don't know if you know him, but Henry Rollins, he was a punk vocalist for the band Black Flag, and he talked a lot about being awed versus being inspired by people. When I do what I do, I don't want people to be awed by me. I want them to be inspired. I'm not anything special. I'm some kid from a little suburban town. You know, but when people when people look at me, when they see what I do, and especially, when they see what I've gone through, I want them to be able to look at me, and be inspired to be like, I can do those things too. And I want them, I just want to stand as a testament of perseverance. And, just that's really important to me, especially. And I want to thank you for one, giving me a platform to even discuss these things. But and that's what I want to fight for. I want to fight for the little guy. I want to fight for, the traditional martial artist. I want to fight for the uncontemporary and that little guy, just because, you know, you, it doesn't take a cool badass fighter man. It doesn't take some massive, built guy to do this. It just takes somebody with passion, and anybody can do it.
Yeah, yeah.
Anybody
And
can.
again, thank you for this talk. I mean, it's a great talk. The question I have for you is, how many fights do you want under your belt? Or do you want to go pro one day? Like, what is the fighting specific goal or dream?
So specific goal, I definitely want to make the karate combat. I love their
Ah,
rule set. That is something I definitely want to do. But in terms of fights, and in terms of just, how many I want, do I want to go pro? Um, I'm I'm an artist, so I'm concerned with getting better. As far as I'm aware, stuff like going pro, and stuff like that. That's all part of this. That's all going to be a part of this journey that I want to get. For me, I want to fight as much as I can. I want to get as many as I can until the day that I'm like, oh, okay, I'm too old for this. That's just the thing, it's constant improvement. I I strive to not perfect my art, but to make it the best I can. I want to be the best me that I can. And as far as how many fights I want, or wanting to go pro, uh, I want it all. And I plan on pursuing that.
I love it, man. I love it. Why not? Go for it all, right? I always tell people, you probably already feel it in college when you at most can take like 5 classes. But they start us out in life. It's like we're taking 7, 8 classes, and then it's like they have to limit us. They have to limit us. It's like, no, the brain should not be limited like this. Life should not
Yeah,
limit your brain. Strive for it all. Who says you
yeah,
can't have 3 things you're doing and 4 hobbies? Who says you can't? Do it all. Do it all. Go for it.
yeah. And you asked me how far I want to go with this, and honestly, the best way that I could put it is I want to go as far as it takes me.
Yeah, that's
I'll
the
always
key.
be I'll always be there to put my 100% in. Fighting has given me a lot, and in my mind, I have to repay that back. And whether that be through giving it my all in these fights, or even doing stuff like this, inspiring people, even if they're at like horrible points in their life, pick up martial arts, and even if it's not martial arts, to pursue their dreams. Um, I owe fighting that. In my eyes, fighting saved me from a lot of stuff,
Hmm.
and I owe it that. I owe it to help teach people when the time comes. I owe it to, inspire people and let them know that you can do this. I'm nothing. I'm not special. I'm just like you. And like I said, fighting gave me a lot. So in my mind, it's something that I have to give my all. I really do.
Yeah, exactly. So, as it gets closer to the Hurricane X event, just send me stuff anytime, and I would love to feature you more. And if needed, maybe one day, again, I don't know how much information you want to give your opponent, but you could like we could do when you're like in the camp. Again, I don't want to show any footage for your opponent to do
Yeah,
research, but
yeah,
like we could like do a follow up conversation or something closer around the time of this
yeah.
of
That
the
sounds
Hurricane X event. So
yeah, that sounds good.
offer's always there.
And definitely, I mean, I would definitely love for you to analyze my style and just talk about it. Because it's not Muay Thai, it's not Taekwondo. It's it's something on my own, and I would definitely love for you to, I would love for you to talk about it and
Yeah,
analyze
and
it.
that's exactly the type of people I love featuring, right? Because I just, again, I did not expect to get so much backlash when I started like showing the traditional guys beating Muay Thai. And it's like the Muay Thai people started using the same excuses that the Kung Fu people always made fun of did. I was like, oh, so it's not just the traditional martial arts that,
Yeah,
have this
no, no,
mentality. Everyone, we all have egos, right? At the end of the
yeah, yeah.
day. And then that made me
Um,
want to dig up more stuff. That made me want to feature the more unique people. And you've also inspired me a lot because I met Benny and I met Benny's wife too. So like
yeah, yeah,
I think I'm chill with them, and so like I will analyze more of their stuff because again, Benny seemed he liked my stuff, and his wife was
yeah,
okay
yeah.
with me. So like I will analyze more Benny stuff because now that I know that like you really like that stuff, like that's awesome. I'm gonna look at more Benny or Kita stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, geez, I like and especially all the work that you've done with Sanda. I mean, it's very important, and I think martial artists that are, I think martial artists, fighters, especially that are coming up, and especially if they come from a traditional martial arts background, view your content because there's a lot to learn from on there. There really is. And I mean, that's like I said, you've done a lot
Hmm.
for the martial arts community. Um, Even if it doesn't feel like it. I mean, you've advanced. I'd say you're kind of one of the people that have brought back almost like this traditional martial arts renaissance.
Oh, thank you.
Uh,
I really appreciate you telling me that. And that's my dream. That's my goal. One of my goals is like it's not like the thing you train, especially traditional martial art, it's not wasted if you train it correctly, right? And if
yeah,
what I'm hearing from you, like if people are understanding that, but like training it correctly, okay, that's good. That's good.
yeah, no, I know, like, yeah, no, that's exactly what it's just, yeah. Like I can't say more than yeah, your channel, it's definitely solid. It's a great channel, and like what you're doing for the martial arts community, and I think people need to be more aware of it. Because it's not all Muay Thai and boxing and modern martial arts. People need to learn these skills and stuff from other martial arts to evolve and become the best martial artist that they can be, to become the best fighter that they can be.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. One funny thing you probably noticed, but my hair was going crazy. And what's really funny was I took a shower right before to like not make my hair go crazy, but I think the shower backfired. The shower made my hair go crazy. So for those of
Uh,
you who are wondering about my hair, I'm sorry guys. I prepared for it and it backfired. So I know someone will be like, Jerry, what happened to your hair during the interview?
no, no, it's okay. Mine's I'm in. I gotta get a haircut soon anyway. I'm in the same boat, man.
Do you usually like shave your head before fights, or what is your hair like during the fight?
Oh no, I rock maybe I trim it out of my eyes, but I rock the full mullet.
Oh, I see. I see. I
Yeah,
love it. Oh, that I mean, everyone needs to stay true to themselves, right? Yeah. So
yeah,
don't
yeah.
shave the hair if you like the hair like that.
I used to have very very long hair, so I used to braid it, but I cut it
Oh,
short. I cut it short because it's too hot to be having it that long in Florida,
yeah.
and yeah, no, it just been this, and I just I'll keep it this way when I fight.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Cool. Well, okay. I'll feature you whenever. Just send me more clips whenever,
yeah,
and
of
then
course.
let's plan another time when we get closer to the match. I mean, I don't know if Hurricane Santana is going to have like stare downs or something. I assume there will be, right? But
Yeah, yeah,
maybe I'll propose to Hurricane Santana if he if he's not going to do stare downs. I can't guarantee this, but this could be fun. It's like maybe we'll interview you and your opponent together or something like
Oh,
that.
yeah, no, I would love that. And even speaking about my opponent, if he sees this, I've heard he's good, I've heard he's skilled, and all I can say, is that makes me excited. It, there ain't nothing I want more than a good fight, and I know he's gonna bring it, and I hope he knows that I'm gonna bring my best fight, all respect
Mhm.
to him. Um, but no, I'm excited. I am excited.
That's awesome. All
Yeah.
right, guys, this was Paul Hernandez, and we'll have Paul Hernandez back. So for everyone that's watching now or later, thank you guys so much. And Paul, thanks again. This was such a cool interview.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I hope to talk to you soon, man. Thank you for featuring me on the channel. It means a lot.